Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing. This is Cypher Box. So this weekend we've got Mikey Garcia versus Robert Easter Jr. At 135 pounds. It's a unification fight. Mikey Garcia holds that WBC belt. Robert Easter is holding the IBF belt. And I just want to do a quick breakdown in terms of this fight. So let's start with Mikey Garcia. Okay, so when it comes to Mikey Garcia, I think Mikey Garcia definitely needs to use and establish his jab to create openings, to get in on the inside, to get up close and personal, and make it as uncomfortable as possible for Robert Easter. If you look at Robert Easter, when he fights, especially if you look at the fight against Haye Fortuna, Haye Fortuna had most of his success when he was fighting on the inside, and not only that, when he was applying constant pressure on Robert Easter. Easter did not like that. He didn't like the fast pace and the constant pressure from Fortuna that he was applying and setting. Those were the moments where Fortuna had most of his success, in my opinion. I also feel Mikey needs to make sure he takes every opportunity to kind of crowd and smother Easter's work, make it as uncomfortable as possible for him. One thing I also noticed in that fight against Fortuna was that Robert Easter, when he was up close and personal, he missed a lot of shots, because he was up close and he's crowding his own work and he's not being able to get his own shots off. And when he was, Fortuna was so deep into his chest, he couldn't land those punches. They would go behind the back of the head, or they would miss slightly, etc. and stuff like that. So I think personally it's key that Mikey does these things to kind of take away Easter's height and reach advantage, and give himself the advantage against Robert Easter. And I think by doing these things, that will be the kind of like the key to probably Mikey Garcia's success on the night. The other thing is I want to say about Mikey Garcia, the last thing I probably want to say is that just stick to his boxing fundamentals. The one thing Mikey Garcia does really well and has and possesses are those boxing fundamentals. Balance, a great jab, the straight right, hooks. He does everything by the book when it comes to the fundamentals of boxing. And I definitely think, he needs to hold his shape in that sense and maintain that discipline, and don't allow Robert Easter the opportunity to disrupt his rhythm during the course of the fight. So let's move on to Robert Easter Jr. Now I have to admit, I was really disappointed with Robert Easter Jr. in his last fight. I wasn't overly impressed by him. If you go and watch my Fight Night Rewind video where I do post-fight analysis, I was very critical of him, I'm not going to lie. Personally, in terms of this fight, what I feel he needs to do is, one, he needs to use the jab to create distance and use his height and punch down on Mikey Garcia, fight long. Against Fortuna, he was bending down, making himself an easy target for Fortuna, and that's how Fortuna was so successful against him in his last fight. He would bend down, get down to the same height as Haye Fortuna, who's a lot shorter than him when it came to height, had definitely had less reach, but Fortuna, because of that reason, because he was bending down, bending his knees and getting down to Fortuna's height, it was easy for Fortuna to land punches, to get in and out, to apply pressure, to get in on the inside. And not only that, because there was a lack of, the use of the jab from Robert Easter against Fortuna, that also gave Fortuna the opportunity to maneuver and get in on the inside. And I don't think he should allow that to happen in this fight. I also think he needs to set his own pace. Against Fortuna, when he did have his moments of success, or when he was in control, was when Fortuna will kind of ease off and allow Robert Easter the time to pick and place his punches, and control the pace of the fight. I think that's key for him to do that. I think he needs to slow it down. And I believe that the jab is the key to that. He needs to use that jab all the way through the fight. Yeah, he needs to disrupt Mikey Garcia's rhythm. Yeah, he can't allow Garcia to get into a rhythm, because once Garcia gets into a rhythm, that's it. You know what? He's going to take over the fight. He's going to set the pace. He's going to control how he's going to dictate and control how the fight's going to go. So for Easter, it's important that he uses that jab, punches down at Mikey Garcia, uses his height, makes himself a difficult target, and you know what? That will allow him to kind of set the pace and create time to get his own punches off on Mikey Garcia. Another thing when it comes to Robert Easter, like I said, use your height. He needs to use his height. Do not bend down and crouch down and fight at Mikey Garcia's height. Make yourself a difficult target. You know, he's a big guy, he's a tall guy, he's got the reach advantage, you know, as well. So use that to his advantage. You know, don't make it easy for Mikey Garcia. Don't make yourself a sitting duck, an easy target, because that's what he did against Fortuna. He bent down, you know what I mean? He crowded his own work, and that made it easy for, like I said earlier on, for Fortuna to get in on the inside, to get in and out, to place his shots. You know, and Robert Easter doesn't want to do that this time. He doesn't want to allow Mikey Garcia those opportunities, because Mikey Garcia is a very experienced fighter, and he possesses you know, power. Let's face it, he does possess power in his punches. Let's not forget that. What he wants to do, Robert Easter, is when Garcia tries to be aggressive and come forward, he wants to take that little step back, fight on the back foot, pop the jab out to keep the distance and the range, and then work off the jab, you know, in those situations, and then push forward and apply his own pressure. But again, using the jab to push Mikey Garcia back and keeping a distance so he can get full leverage and, you know, get his shots off and land his shots accurately. Especially when it comes to the scorecards, the judges are seeing these things. But not only that, to create opportunities. If he gets the opportunity and he can knock Mikey Garcia out, then that's where it will come. The other couple of things I want to factor in is that Mikey Garcia is trained by his older brother Robert Garcia. Now they have a long-standing relationship in terms of in the ring, in terms of Robert Garcia training Mikey. They understand each other. The relationship's good. The relationship is strong. Mikey listens to his brother, takes on board what his brother's telling him, and applies that into the ring. Robert himself is a very good trainer. He would have probably studied Easter's last performance and, you know, built a really strong game plan around that. My concerns in this fight are probably for Robert Easter Jr. He's taken on a new trainer for this fight in Kevin Cunningham. Very good trainer. You know, I'm not saying that he's made a bad choice or anything like that. I just feel like when you're bringing a new trainer in at this time, you haven't quite built the relationship with each other just yet, like the understanding, you know, Kevin understanding how, you know, what makes Robert tick, and vice versa. So I'm not saying that Robert Easter can't win the fight even with a new trainer in his corner. My concerns around that is that, you know, if Robert Easter finds himself in a situation where Mikey Garcia is putting it on him, or you know, Mikey Garcia rocks him and, you know, Easter's legs wobble and then he's got to go back to his corner and sit down and take instructions, does his new trainer know enough about Easter, you know, in order to kind of influence him and motivate him to go out there and, you know, turn things around? Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, dig deep in those moments where he needs to probably dig deep. Has he got that kind of strong enough relationship to get Easter to do that? So those are the kind of concerns I have in terms of when it comes to Easter having a new trainer for a fight of this magnitude and importance. You know, it is a unification fight, let's not forget. Okay, so who am I picking to win this fight? I have to admit, I'm going for Mikey Garcia. I just think Mikey Garcia's experience, his patience, his skill sets, as I've already, you know, described to you, will be, you know, the main reasons for him winning the fight on the night. I think Robert Easter, in my opinion, will probably revert back to type. He may start the fight using his height, trying to use his height and use his reach, but as the fight goes on, I think he'll revert back to type and give him, you know, go back to his usual style of boxing, which is, you know, to bend his knees, kind of crouch down, try to get up close and fight on the inside rather than, you know, keeping it long. And I just think Mikey Garcia, those are the moments where he'll expose him, because Robert Easter in his last fight against Javier Fortuna also didn't, like I said, he didn't impress me at all. I thought it was quite a disappointing performance. I think he was quite lucky to get the decision over Javier Fortuna. I thought Javier Fortuna might have just edged it personally. I didn't actually do a scorecard for it, but just watching it, I felt Fortuna did enough to maybe just nick it. But you know what, I personally think, you know, Robert Easter, he'll start off fighting tall and long, and then eventually he'll revert back to type, and I feel Mikey Garcia will expose him in those moments, because like I said, Mikey Garcia is a very intelligent boxer. You know, he's got plenty of experience, so you know, he knows how to adapt and make adjustments to what his opponent's doing, and I think Robert Easter will just play into his hands. You know, there's the other flip side to it as well, of course. You know, a lot of people will probably say, well, you know, maybe Robert Easter shouldn't use his height and use his range, you know, fight how he always fights, because that's where that's what he's used to. You know, it's when you start trying to change things up that can cause the problem as well. And I do agree to that to an extent, but I just feel like, you know what, after what I saw in his last performance against Javier Fortuna, I think, you know, Mikey Garcia will win this fight. I don't think it will be a knockout. I think Mikey Garcia will go to the scorecards. I think Mikey Garcia will get the decision at the end of the night. Alright guys, that's it for me for now. As always, like, share and subscribe. Let me know how you think the fight's going to go, or how you see it, or do you disagree? Do you see Robert Easter winning this fight? You know, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Remember, these are just predictions and previews and, you know, my opinions. You know, it doesn't mean I'm bang on right that yes, definitely this is how it's going to play out. You know, you never know what's going to happen in the ring. But like I said, like, share and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.